Hi everyone, here's a conservation of energy question. In this question, we have a cannon that is tilted up at a 20-degree angle, and it fires a cannonball at 75 meters per second from the top of a 15-meter tall cliff. And we want to know, what is the ball's impact speed as it hits the ground? What's cool about this question is you can solve it using conservation of energy or using your kinematic equations. Now we're going to solve it using conservation of energy because honestly, I find it much easier. The first thing you want to do is write out your conservation of energy equation. So we have Ki plus Ui is equal to Kf plus Uf. And now we want to simplify this as much as possible. So let's think, can we cancel out any of these terms? Looking at our initial conditions, we know the cannonball is going to have some initial kinetic energy because it's shot out of the cannon with a velocity of 75 meters per second. We also know that it'll have some initial potential energy because the cannon is 15 meters above the ground. Now looking at our final conditions, we know the cannonball will have some final kinetic energy because it's going to have an impact speed. But the cannonball will have no final potential energy because it's going to hit the ground. And when it hits the ground, it has no potential energy because it has no height. Now what this means is we can get rid of UF. This term is equal to 0. That leaves us with Ki plus Ui is equal to Kf. The next thing we want to do is replace our kinetic energy terms with 1/2 mv squared and our potential energy terms with mgh. And now all we need to do is simplify this equation and isolate for Vf. Notice we don't need to know the mass of the object because mass will cancel out. From there, all we need to do is keep rearranging and isolating for Vf. And what we find is Vf is equal to the square root of Vi squared plus 2ghi. And now the hard part's done. All we need to do is plug in our values for the initial velocity, the acceleration due to gravity, and the initial height of the object. And when we do the math, we find that the cannonball's impact speed will be 76.9 meters per second. And that's the answer to this question. Now I challenge you to try and answer this question using your kinematic equations. And let me know in the comments, what do you find easier, the conservation of energy or the kinematic equations?